Hey beauties, my name's Freya Graff and I'm a yoni mapping therapist and holistic sex coach, and I'm coming at you today to chat about first timer sex and give you a few pointers to help you prepare. So this is kind of a first time sexual starter kit for the gals. Now, something that I want you to think about first is why you're doing it. If you're planning on having sex soon for the first time, or if you're in the very early stages of your sexual career, I'd love you to reflect on what your reasons and driving forces are behind engaging in sex. Some common reasons that I'd love you to avoid include because you feel pressure from your friends or peers, or pressure from someone you're dating or crushing on. Because you're worried that you're getting too old to be a virgin and you want to keep up with the others at school and get it over with. Because you feel like doing it will make the person that you do it with like you more or become more attached to you. Or because you feel like having sex is the way to feel worthy, loved, or valued by guys, and that you have to do it, otherwise they won't stay with you or think you're cool. Another reason that commonly happens is because of alcohol or being in an altered state. That means we do things we might not usually. So none of these are great reasons to have sex, but they do happen a lot. And if this is, you and it has already happened, no shame, no judgment, happens to the best of us. But I just love to emphasize that you really don't need to have sex to be respected or loved or valued or cool or keep up with the others your age, or for any reason other than because you really fucking want to, because you feel ready. So some great reasons to start exploring sexually include because you feel horny and you want to explore pleasure and arousal with someone you're attracted to. Because you have a really respectful, caring, and safe relationship or friendship with someone and the two of you want to do it together. Because you love your partner and you want to feel closer and more connected with them. And maybe you're curious. Because it feels good for you and you deserve pleasure and to feel adored and sexy. So my first tip would be to reflect on why you're actually wanting to have sex and whether you feel comfortable with the reasons, because you really don't have to have sex until you're ready and it feels right and empowering for you to make that decision for yourself. The next tip I have to prepare is to do as much self-exploration as you can beforehand, because the more you know your own body and can give yourself pleasure, the better it'll be with someone else. So here's some fun homework for you. Masturbate and touch yourself. Not just on the clit and the outside of the vulva, but also put your fingers or a dildo or both ideally inside your vagina to practice penetrative sexual pleasure with yourself. This will help you get to know your way around a pussy so you know what you enjoy and maybe what you don't enjoy, and you can maybe give the other person some direction or feedback when the time comes, because they might not know what the fuck they're doing and they might be fumbling around and trying to find the right hole, and then you can be like, hey, I got this. It'll also start teaching your vagina to feel more pleasure internally the more you self-pleasure with penetration. Because often people just do clitoral pleasure or use a vibrator, and that basically means that when you have penetrative sex and something's inside your vag, it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It doesn't even know how to kind of get pleasure from that, and it's not used to that, so it might not feel good. Plus, it'll mean that when you do have penetrative sex, it shouldn't hurt or tear or bleed or anything like that, because your pussy will be used to having things inside it already. And you probably won't have a hymen to worry about anymore either. So also don't worry. Hymens usually break and shrink away on their own before this anyway. And often there might not even be any pain or blood at all. So heaps of girls don't even notice that their hymen is broken or gone, and it isn't an issue once they start having sex. There's not supposed to be just a shitload of blood and pain when you first have sex. So practice with yourself and explore feeling arousal and sexual energy and pleasure in your own body with yourself first before sharing your body with someone else. Makes sense, right? You'll be far more prepared, more connected to your body, able to feel more pleasure internally from penetration, and it's a beautiful way to empower yourself to embody your sensual nature at any time without needing someone else. Also know that your pleasure is a priority, just as much as the guy, just as much as the other partner, whatever gender. It's about exploring and sharing pleasure together and giving and receiving. So remember that sex is not just for the guy, it's for you too, and your pleasure is important. Otherwise, why bother having sex? I get asked a lot, should it hurt? And I did just touch on this, but no, not much, if at all. Firstly, if you've been self-pleasuring and penetrating yourself already, that will mean that it shouldn't be too different to what your vaginal opening is already used to anyway, unless he's really girthy. And sometimes you will find yourself facing down a seriously huge cock. That was my first time experience. It was just so big, there was no way it was going to fit straight away. It took a fair bit of practice and many attempts and a lot of relaxation. And secondly, if you're turned on enough and you've been warmed up with foreplay and your body is actually ready to have penetrative sex, then it shouldn't hurt much, if at all, depending on the size of his dick and your vaginal canal. But if it does hurt, it's really important to stop if it's anything more than just a little bit sore. It's essential to go super slowly as well. And I'd say use fingers first to warm things up and prepare for something bigger to enter. So get him going on a little bit of fingering action before trying to shove a dick in there. Just don't let the guy shove it in or force it in or thrust too deep or hard or fast, because this is going to hurt way more and it's going to create micro tears. Vaginas do not like that, especially when they're not warmed up properly and you're not super turned on. He's got to ease into it really gently and slowly. You know, you set the pace and you make sure you feel in control. Use lube if you need to, because often when we're nervous or anxious, as in the case of some first-time experiences, understandably, our natural lubrication will dry up and our vaginal muscles will also contract with the nerves, and that will make it hurt more. So breathing really deeply and slowly and consciously into your belly, trying to just reassure and relax your body and your pelvic floor muscles is really good for this as well. So on the foreplay thing, the more the better, because this will help you get turned on and prep your body for penetration by building arousal and engorgement of your erectile tissues, because we have just as much erectile tissue inside our vaginas as a guy does in his cock, and that all needs to be filled with blood for everything to feel good and to give a bit of a buffer, like cushioning effect of the vagina, so it doesn't hurt when something's thrusting inside. So ideally, your partner would be doing lots of stroking and massaging or touching and licking, oral, fingering, things like that to help your body feel extra aroused. Lots of kissing, just pashing, making out passionately, that's a vibe. And that will excite you and your body to go further. And this will make sex much better for both of you, and it will be less likely to hurt as well. Ideally, you'd also feel very safe and be able to trust the person you're doing it with. If we don't feel safe or have a lot of care for the person we sleep with, it won't feel as pleasurable for us and our bodies will be closed to them. Whereas if you feel really connected to the person and you trust them and they make you feel beautiful and loved and you have a lot of good good for them, then that's the kind of sex you want to be having. Huge difference, and your body will respond really differently too. And, being in that situation, feeling really safe and really caring about the person you're having sex with, you'll be able to access a lot more pleasure. So the next thing I want to have a talk about is protection. Boring, I know, but seriously, like, this isn't just for preventing pregnancy, but for protecting you from sexually transmitted diseases too. Even if you're using a method of hormonal birth control, it doesn't mean you can just fucking go all out. I'd still recommend using condoms or a barrier method like that to prevent getting an STI. That one's a no-brainer. And if the guy complains that it doesn't feel good for his cock, or that he doesn't feel like, he doesn't like wearing them, or he doesn't have any, fuck him right off. That's not okay. It's your body and it's your choice. So don't allow anyone to make you budge on that boundary. It's a huge red flag for me when a guy tries to get out of wearing a condom. Don't have sex with that boy. And you can also equip yourself by carrying your own condoms so that you're locked and loaded and there's no excuse if he doesn't have any. And then you're empowered because you have that, in your back pocket, ready to go if you choose to have sex and use it. So on the topic of boundaries, you are completely entitled to have them for yourself and stick to them. So if there's anything you don't want to do or don't feel comfortable with or don't like, say so, and don't let them be, don't let those boundaries be crossed. If we've expressed that we don't want them to do a certain thing or said that we don't feel comfortable and then they ignore this or push it and keep trying anyway, maybe you've said that you don't want to suck their dick or you don't want to do it doggy style, but they keep trying to get you to change your mind or asking again and again. Huge red flag as well. This is not okay. So in order to have your own back, it's important to be able to say no and to put your foot down and walk away if someone isn't respecting your boundaries and isn't listening to you. Similarly with consent, if someone isn't listening to you or isn't seeking consent before they do something to your body or penetrate you, this isn't a vibe. Having consensual sex means that at any point throughout proceedings, you can say no, you can change your mind, you can stop or slow things down. You are in control, and if it seems like you're not in control or you're not able to refuse or speak up or retract your consent, then this isn't consensual anymore. So know that even if you've gotten into bed with someone and maybe you're already naked, this isn't a contract. This doesn't mean he can automatically have sex with you. If you've actually agreed to have sex and started to get closer to it, but then you change your mind, or even if you've begun having sex and then it's not feeling good for you or you want to stop for whatever reason, it's okay to change your mind and stop. If they try to keep going or make you feel guilty for leading them on or leaving them with blue balls, that's a fucking old chestnut, that one. If they try to convince you to let them finish, no, they're fucking dicks and this is not respecting your boundaries or consent. So make sure before you have sex with anyone that you feel comfortable and confident enough to say no when you need to have these conversations about your boundaries and what you do want and don't want, like and don't like. Because if we're not feeling safe enough or respected enough by a person, or if we don't have the confidence and comfort within ourselves to have our own backs, and fronts, especially fronts, then we really aren't ready to be having sex. Sorry to be brutal, sorry to be a fucking buzzkill, but it's true. So, for a quick recap on what you need to have on lock as part of your first time sexual starter kits. Condoms and lube, fun. A good sense of self-worth and confidence to speak up about your needs and boundaries. A healthy and safe reason to be having sex, not being pressured. Plenty of self-exploration to practice on your own pussy before you let someone else get stuck in. Loads of great yummy foreplay to warm up your bod and get aroused before penetration. Ideally, you're sober and in your right mind, so you're making good decisions and not being pressured, and you can still fucking remember the experience afterwards. The knowledge that it shouldn't hurt much or at all. And if it does, then stop and slow down or try again another time. Don't force it. And a trustworthy and caring person who makes you feel respected and comfortable to have sex with. That one's essential. Now, if you'd like to learn more about female pleasure, sex, arousal, communication, intimacy, all of this yummy stuff. Stay tuned, as I'm sure I'll do more videos on the more nitty-gritty aspects of all this. But you can also listen to my podcast, The Labia Lounge, for all sorts of informative and juicy shit in this department. And follow me on the socials as well for heaps of educational tips and tricks and sexual inspo, because the more you know about this stuff and how your body works, the better sex you'll be having and the more empowered you'll feel out there in the world as well as in the sheets. So go forth, my petals. Good luck, Godspeed, and much love.